Hi, I'm Tom from Food Related, and in today's video I just want to go over the differences between a Perlite oven and a Vermiculite oven. So over the last few years I've made quite a few different ovens. The one behind me is our oven at home. This is made out of Vermiculite, and I've also made a Vermiculite one at school, and I've made a Perlite one for some friends of ours. In today's video I'm going to go over the differences between the two and give a bit of a comparison and kind of hint on the things that I've learnt. So we're going to talk about hardness, we're going to talk about the issue of cracking and performance. Let's get into it. So this is the first Vermiculite oven that I made, and this oven now is about 5 years old. Now, as you can see, just on the corner here, we're kind of losing a bit of the material. And if I just push here, you might be able to just see how soft this material is. So this is covered up, so we do have a roof, but it's quite a soft material, Vermiculite. And this oven was just made with normal Portland cement. And the oven that I made recently for our friends, well, I say recently, about 18 months ago, is made out of Perlite. Now, the Perlite dried a lot harder. Now, part of this was, I think, down to the fact I used white Portland cement, which can dry to about 58 megapascals in 28 days. So it's got quite a high strength and hardness to it anyway. So the Vermiculite versus the Perlite, I would say Perlite seems a lot harder when it dries with cement every time. And I found this not only with the pizza ovens, but with the fire bricks that I made. So when considering hardness, I would conclude that if I was going to make another oven and replace this one, which I may well do in the next year or so, I would go with Perlite over Vermiculite. It seems to dry harder, and I just think that's going to make it more durable. Now, the issue of cracking is a question I get quite a lot from a number of viewers on the channel. So today I'm going to go into that. Now, I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just learning as I go. Now, this oven was the first Vermiculite oven I've made, and as you can see, it has a crack here, and this crack was actually from when we first made the oven, and we kind of, when we were pulling it out of the form, it actually cracked here, and we did repair this bit. But if I go around the back of the oven, we have a separate crack, which is quite big, to be honest, and you can actually see it from the inside, and I think that was due to the oven being fired too hot. Now you can actually see around the inside where we'd repaired this. Now that's because we didn't really want to throw this oven away. It was the first one we'd made and we didn't want to waste the materials. Now this oven's 4.5 years old now and it's still working well. I mean, it's obviously got quite a big crack there. So comparing the Vermiculite oven to the latest Perlite oven that I've made, the Perlite oven has not cracked. It's 18 months old and they've had quite a lot of use out of it. They said they've been using it at least 4 or 5 times a month, and it has no cracks yet. Now in that oven I used a chicken wire reinforcement between the layers, and I think this has really added to the tensile strength of the oven, and I would also say that the oven is a lot thicker. Now if we have a look at the Vermiculite oven, it's only probably 10, 20, 30, maybe 40, 45 mil thick, whereas the Perlite oven I made quite a lot thicker to help combat the issue of cracking. So in conclusion about cracking, I would say you need to use Perlite because I think it's going to give you more strength because it's harder, but I would also add that it would be worthwhile adding some sort of reinforcement between your layers when you're making the oven, whether that be chicken wire or some other solution to that problem. Now, performance-wise, I'm still really happy with this oven. You know, it's probably 4.5 years old now, and it still works. We can put 3 or 4 decent-sized logs in the fire. It's going to hold that heat for at least an hour after we fired it, and we can carry on cooking. So we might be cooking pizzas, and then the fire might die down, and we can still cook bread and a dessert, perhaps, in the oven. So it's not the end of the world having those cracks. The performance is still okay with the Vermiculite oven, but what I found out from our friend's oven, which we made out of perlite, it seems to have a lot better performance. Now, a little caveat, it is thicker, so it would have more thermal mass. However, you know, I think it's really about what materials are available to you. So their perlite oven, let's say they had a fire and they were cooking pizzas with maybe, let's say, 4 decent sized logs. They're saying to me that it will hold that heat for at least another 2 hours, whereas this one with its cracks is probably only going to be good for another hour, if that. So in hindsight, I probably would have said, yeah, go for perlite rather than vermiculite. So here's the summary. Build using perlite instead of vermiculite. The results are going to give you a lot harder oven at the end of it. In terms of which cement to use, I would suggest using a high strength cement, or you could even use refractory cement, although this is going to be a lot more expensive. I would also suggest adding reinforcement to your oven layers, whether that be chicken wire like I did, or you might use some other type of reinforcement. If you are going to build your own pizza oven, one of my top tips is not to fire it too hot. By firing it too hot, this is going to cause cracks in your oven, which is what we're trying to avoid. So thanks for all your questions and comments so far. If you've got more questions, just leave them in the comment section below. I'll endeavour to answer them as best I can. I'm not an expert, but I've learned quite a few things over the last 5 years building these pizza ovens out of perlite and vermiculite. So if you've got questions, leave them below. Smash the thumbs up if this video was helpful, and subscribe if you're new.